You know, David Fincher doesn't just start a movie, he hijacks your brain. In an age where our attention is everything, he's been a master of the hook for decades, crafting these opening sequences that are so seamless, we barely even notice we're being fed all the crucial details. Okay, let's dive in and see exactly how he pulls it off. So here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about the art of the hook itself. Then we're going to deconstruct the absolutely perfect first act of Fight Club. From there, we'll see how Fincher plays with traditional story structure, zoom out to his other films to find a pattern, and finally figure out why his movies pretty much demand to be watched over and over again. You know, every single filmmaker faces the exact same problem: exposition. You have to give the audience just enough info to follow the story, but you can't make it feel like you're reading from a textbook. It's a really delicate balance, and honestly, Fincher is one of the all-time greats at solving it. Fincher doesn't ease you in. Nope, he throws you right into the fire. Now, you might think, well, people are already in the theater, they've paid for their tickets, why go so hard in the first few minutes? But for Fincher, it's everything. He doesn't just want you to sit through his film, he wants you to be completely absorbed by it, right from the very first stream. And honestly, you won't find a better example of this than the first 30 minutes of Fight Club. I mean, it is an exposition dump so perfectly executed that it sets up the entire film and pulls you into its world of chaos before you even have a chance to catch your breath. So the movie opens, and we are literally inside the narrator's brain. I mean, we start in his fear center before pulling out to reveal a gun in his mouth. We are immediately inside his head, both visually and sonically. And this opening, it immediately forces you to ask the three most important questions. Why is this guy in this situation? What in the world happens in 3 minutes? And the biggest one of all, who is Tyler Durden? Okay, so the structure here, it's just brilliant. We start at the end, right at the moment of highest tension, which actually bookends the entire story. Then, bam, we jump into a flashback. But it's not some slow, boring origin story. It's this rapid-fire montage, a series of flashbacks inside of flashbacks that just rockets us through a massive amount of setup, ending at the exact moment his old life is completely destroyed. And this montage just crams so much in. The narrator's entire pathetic existence, the insomnia, the life he ordered from an IKEA catalog, the weird addiction to support groups, it's all laid bare. We meet Bob, we meet the incredibly disruptive Marla Singer, and we get those first blink-and-you'll-miss-it subliminal flashes of Tyler Durden. And somehow it never feels forced. And all of this whole chaotic intro, it builds to one single moment at the 28-minute mark, the inciting incident. His apartment, the very symbol of his empty, consumer-driven life, is just gone. It's destroyed. This event ends the first act, wiping his slate totally clean and pushing him directly into the arms of Tyler Durden. And that's when the real story kicks off. Okay, so to really get what Fincher's doing here, we need to talk about the basic rules of screenwriting for a sec. Let's look at the classic model, just so we can see how a master like him loves to break it. All right, first up, you've got what's called the inciting incident. Think of it like a meteor crashing into the protagonist's perfectly normal life. It's something that happens to them. The key word to remember here is passive. They don't choose it, it chooses them. Now, a plot point, that's a different beast entirely. This is a moment where the main character makes a conscious choice. They take action. They have an active role that pivots the story into a whole new direction, moving us from one act to the next. So let's just break that down one more time. The most crucial difference is this. An inciting incident is passive, something that happens to you. A plot point is active, a decision you make. One is an outside disruption, the other is an internal choice that changes everything. So in a classic 3-act structure, the story is anchored by these big plot points. If you map it onto Fight Club, plot point 1 would be the narrator's decision to go live with Tyler, which, leads to creating Fight Club. Plot point 2 comes way later, when he has the horrifying realization that he is Tyler Durden. That kicks off the final act. But Fincher is playing a trick on us. And this is the brilliant twist. We find out later that the narrator blew up his own apartment. So that inciting incident, the thing that seemed to just happen to him, making him this passive victim, was actually an active choice made by another part of himself. So was he active or was he passive? The answer is kind of both. And what's so genius about this is that the structure itself becomes a metaphor for his whole identity crisis. The narrator's exposition is totally passive. He's just showing us his furniture. But when Tyler gives his exposition, he's an active performer. He's pointing at the camera, selling his philosophy directly to us. It's order versus chaos, baked right into the DNA of the storytelling. But here's the thing, this isn't just a Fight Club trick. This mastery of the opening, it's his signature. It's a consistent pattern you can see across his entire filmography. Let's look at a few other examples and see how this all builds into a recognizable Fincher blueprint. So think about Zodiac. Fincher opens not with the killer's first attack, but his second. Why? Well, it's a super deliberate choice with two purposes. On a pure plot level, this specific attack gives us a key clue that only becomes important at the very end of the film. He's planting the seed for the resolution in the opening scene. But thematically, it grounds the film in this shocking, brutal reality before it becomes a decades-long investigation. We feel the human cost of the puzzle right away. Or how about the killer? The opening is this long, meticulous construction of a worldview. Stick to your plan, anticipate, don't improvise. Fincher lets us live inside this assassin's philosophy of total control. He makes us believe in its logic, and that's crucial, because the entire film is about watching that philosophy completely crumble. Every single mantra he establishes in the opening becomes a rule he's forced to break. So the beginning sets up the very system that is about to fail. With Fincher, even a totally simple scene, a guy getting off a train, becomes a masterclass in setting the mood. The scene doesn't just show us a cold, remote place. It makes us feel the isolation. When we meet an untrustworthy character on the platform, we're being taught the film's language, trust no one. By just casually showing us the bridge that will be critical later, Fincher is basically training us, the audience, to be detectives from minute one. So what's the upshot of all this? Why are his movies so ridiculously rewatchable? Well, it's because in a David Fincher film, nothing is an accident. The entire story, and especially the ending, is encoded in its opening moments. He's got this whole toolkit he uses to pull it off. You have unreliable narration, where clues, what Fincher called his subliminal brads, are hidden in plain sight. He uses misdirection, kind of like Hitchcock's bomb under the table idea, where the opening threat is just there to grab your attention, it's not the real danger. And the fractured, nonlinear storytelling perfectly mirrors his characters' broken minds, which makes the twists feel completely earned and inevitable when you watch it a second time. You know, it all comes back to what the screenwriting legend Sid Field once said, endings are manifested in the resolution, and the resolution is conceived in the beginning. That really is the core of the Fincher philosophy. The answer to the film's final question is always hidden in its first few minutes. Which kind of leaves us with one last thought to chew on. When Tyler Durden breaks that fourth wall and starts selling his manifesto, is he just talking to the narrator, or is he talking to us? By pulling us so deep into the narrator's fractured mind from the opening scene, Fincher makes us question our own role. Are we just passive viewers, or have we maybe become a part of the psychosis itself?